Throughout my childhood, I was sexually abused, verbally abused, mentally abused, and physically abused by my godmother's husband, along with physically abused, mentally abused, and verbally abused by my godmother herself. I was neglected by my biological mother and basically cast aside by every single adult that was in my life. Then 2 days before my 10th birthday, I was abducted by a family friend, somebody that I had known all of my life, and held in captivity in an underground bunker for 17 days. During my captivity, I was not only physically abused, I was also sexually abused and raped by my captor, somebody who prior to the abduction had never laid a hand on me. I never knew until years later that he had actually molested my biological brother, and people in my family had known about it. During my captivity, he deprived me of sunlight, nourishing food, personal hygiene, and kept me basically in a coffin-sized box for 17 days while being chained by my neck. I definitely think that part of the way that I was able to get through and survive the abduction was by the abuse that I sustained as a young child at the hands of my godmother and my godmother's husband. I also think that part of it, I was born with a skill almost to be able to endure that much pain that I had gone through my entire childhood. And lastly, I think that my desire to go back and live again with my biological mother kept me going. On January 13th of 1993, my captor, John Esposito, had told his lawyers that he was actually holding me. They informed the police. The police came and rescued me, and after that I was checked out at a hospital and then immediately sent to a foster home, which is where I probably should have been for most of my life. I definitely learned that we're resilient. I also learned that with the right support system and counseling and family members and the right mindset, that you can get through and recover from trauma. You don't have to let it get you down. You can work through it. I think part of the reason why I was able to work through my abduction and my childhood is because my foster parents kept me out of the media spotlight. They allowed me to live a normal childhood. I was quickly enrolled into counseling, and the therapy greatly helped me to be able to talk about the emotions and to overcome a lot. My advice to anybody would be, if you have gone through a trauma, if you've been abused, to get the counseling that you're going to need, to get the mindset to be able to overcome and work through it. Find a support system, and also don't necessarily dwell on it. It's not something that you're going to need to talk about time and time again. It's more that you're going to need to talk about the emotions that you're feeling because of what happened. I've been talking about my abuse in my childhood since I was 10 years old, whether it be with my therapist or a glazed over version of this is what happened to me, to family and friends when I became comfortable with them. I don't know when I was really ready to go public. I still think that January 13th of this year, I still was a little apprehensive about being thrown into the media eye, but it was something that I wanted to do to be able to let victims know that they do have a voice and that they can recover. I recently co-authored Buried Memories with Carolyn Gussoff. In Buried Memories, I talk a little bit about how I was feeling at the time of the abuse, how I was embarrassed and ashamed about the abuse. I felt like it was my fault. It took me a long time to actually realize that the child abuse, the sexual abuse, the rape, the neglect were not things that were my fault. They were out of my control. It was a while in therapy before I could actually really admit to myself that it was nothing that I did wrong. It was not my fault. It wasn't something that was supposed to happen to me. It took me a long time to realize that, and when I did, that definitely aided in my recovery. A big part of the reason why I came forward and wrote Buried Memories is because I want victims to know that they can have a voice and they need to use it. They need to tell somebody about the abuse. They need to, until somebody believes them and does something about it, they need to shout it from the rooftops if they have to, and get the counseling, get the help, get the support system that you need. Before I was 10 years old, I was in a neglectful, abusive home where I was cast aside by every adult in my life. After I was put into a foster home, I had a family, I had a home, I had my own bedroom, I was taught how to brush my teeth and shower on a daily basis, all things that everybody takes for granted. Now I'm a married mother of 2 children who I absolutely adore. Life is wonderful. At 9 years old, I would have never imagined my life being where it is at today.